Hey everyone, welcome back. We're back previewing and sampling all these other games that I enjoy. I hope you'll join me for something a little different here. This is a fighting game called Guilty Gear Strive. This is a game I've really been enjoying, and I find that there aren't a lot of folks out there who really get into the fighting game genre, but I really want to make a case for it. Maybe you'll enjoy these sorts of games. I think a lot of people have heard of them. There's certainly the big franchises like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. I think a lot of folks are familiar with those. But there's a whole level of games just below them that are very popular. And Guilty Gear is one of them. And this most recent iteration, Guilty Gear Strive, has really been performing very well. It's had great sales, and honestly, I find it a great way to jump into the fighting game genre. Although Street Fighter 6 did just come out. If you're interested in fighting games, you can also give that a try. A lot of people like to start with Street Fighter. It's a bit more straightforward. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video to go over some of the basics of this specific fighting game, although the concepts we're going to cover can be applied to many different fighting games. And I'll apologize first, I am on a controller here, and so you may hear some clacking and clicking as I play, but please forgive me. So I'm going to hop into this training mode here and talk a little bit about the game. And I think this video will be helpful for anyone who wants to check out fighting games, and specifically this game. And we're going to go over some concepts, and I want to explain all the strategy, all the thinking behind this, perhaps in an effort to prove to my wife that I am not simply mashing buttons, although I have to forgive her no matter what, even if she says that, because she's my biggest fan and always cheers me on when I get good wins in this game, so I can't really say anything. So let's talk a little bit about how fighting games operate. Let's go over some of the simplistic stuff. If you want to attack in the game, you need to input different buttons. You can see I've actually got 5 different attacks in this game. We have kick with A, we have punch with X on my controller, we have slash with Y on my controller, we've also got heavy slash, which is B on my controller. There's also a dust attack, which is currently mapped to one of my shoulder buttons on the controller. So what we're going to do is we're going to input buttons and try to deal damage to our opponent. You can see that we have our health bars up top. When I damage my opponent with something, you can see the red bar ticks away. If this were a real match, the health would be permanently removed, but because this is a training mode, it just instantly refills again. If I want to block the attacks that my opponent is inputting, I can always hold back on the controller. If you hold down back, it will automatically block attacks. That said, there are different kinds of attacks, and so your strategy of blocking needs to respond to it. So sometimes people will attack high, and you need to hold back in a high position. Sometimes people will attack low, and you need to kind of hold down and back. I think a lot of the time people have difficulty understanding some of the terminology used to describe special moves in games. So it's very easy for me to say, well, I'm going to do kick punch. But it's harder to describe a special move like that. If you are in front of a keyboard that has a numpad on it, if you'll look at the numbers 1 through 9, you can see that they create sort of a directional grid, with 5 being in the center, and that's essentially neutral. That's not pressing any buttons. If I were to press 4 on the numpad, I would expect my character to go backwards, and if I were to press 6 on the numpad, I would expect my character to go forward. So we're using the numpad as sort of a proxy for what I'm inputting into the controller. And let's always assume that our character is starting on the left side of the screen, that we are player 1, and that our health is in the upper left, our character's image, Anji Mito, is in the upper left. So we should always describe attacks or special moves from that positioning. So for this move that I was just demonstrating, the one where this sort of blue butterfly comes out of my fan, this move is actually done by inputting 2, 3, 6, and then punch. So really, it's the control stick going down, down, forward, and then me inputting X, or punch. And people will describe moves this way rather than learning the actual names of the different moves. So this move is actually called Shitsu, and it's kind of annoying to remember every single character's attacks. It's really hard to remember them, especially with how similar named they are. Stun Edge, Charge Stun Edge, Aerial Stun Edge, Stun Dipper. It's hard to remember these. So instead, a lot of people will just refer to the inputs that are put in. So rather than calling this Shitsu, we actually call it 236 punch. Or some people refer to it as quarter circle forward, essentially a quarter of a circle from down to forward and then inputting punch. So quarter circle forward punch is my ranged attack. Cool. So now we kind of have a way of discussing how we're inputting attacks. And you can even see in the lower left, you can actually see what I'm inputting into the controller. You can see I'm going from 2 to 3 to 6 and then inputting punch. Okay, so that's how we're going to discuss doing moves in this game. And it's important to know the special moves of your character because there are a lot of characters in this game. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different input strings because there are so many characters available here. Now, I just wanted to go over Anji Mito, this character, briefly because he does have a lot of moves that describe basic fighting game concepts. So let's hop back into the training mode and let's go over some other concepts that are more generally practiced. So almost all fighting games have what is known as a throw. A throw is a way to beat someone who is blocking. If someone is blocking, then there's no way to damage them. However, if we go close to them and use our throw button, a small animation plays and we deal damage to them. Helpful when your opponent is just constantly blocking, not attacking. It's a way of punishing them for always blocking. You can actually throw in 2 different directions. I can either throw forward or I can throw backward behind me. So it's also a good way of repositioning your opponent. There are also things known as command throws or command grabs. These are special attacks that people do that are throws. So everyone can throw. Everyone can do that. But some characters can actually do a special, more damaging throw. However, it involves inputting different buttons, and that's why it is called a command throw or a command grab. Other concepts include knockdown. Knockdown means the character falls to the ground. So you can see with this move that I'm doing, it's actually knocking our opponent Kai Kisuke to the ground. This is called a knockdown. And there's various things that occur after a knockdown. So one is I can keep up my aggression with an oki. This is a shortened term for a Japanese word. And basically it means to set up an attack that will hit your opponent the moment they get up off the ground. So I'm going to knock him on the ground, do that ranged butterfly attack, and it's called an oki because the moment they get up from the ground, they're going to have to deal with the butterfly. It's going to basically hit them unless they're guarding right away. So I can maybe time it just right, like that. So they're having to deal with the butterfly the moment they stand up. Yeah, something like that. So that's an oki, when someone is trying to get up off the ground and you've already set up attack. And when someone falls on the ground, there's also a chance that you can deal an extra attack to them while they are on the ground. So that right there, I was able to knock him down and then kick his head in. That is an OTG, or an off-the-ground attack, or an on-the-ground attack. On, off, doesn't really matter. So sometimes you'll hear someone say, oh, they connected with an OTG. That basically means they were able to keep an attack going by hitting them up off of the ground. Another term is when someone is knocked to the ground, the first move that they input after getting up off the ground. If it's an offensive attack, often we call that a wake up blank. So if I were to be knocked to the ground and I get up and the first thing I do is the butterfly, the Shih Tzu move, or the 2-3-6 punch move, someone would say, oh, he's doing a wake up 2-3-6 punch or a wake up quarter circle punch. It's basically saying that's going to be the first move that I do when I wake up, aka get up off the ground. You'll often hear some people say wake up super. Maybe we can talk about that in a moment, but whenever you hear that wake up prefix, it basically just means what they're going to do the moment they get up off the ground. Okay, a few other concepts. One is chip damage. If you are blocking attacks, you actually do take a little bit of damage. Let's go to training settings. Let's go to opponent status. He's going to stand and he's going to guard. So when I strike him, you'll notice that I'm not dealing any damage. He is blocking everything, but this purple bar in the upper right is getting more and more full. And once it gets all the way full, they start to become at risk and they will start to take chip damage. And honestly, you don't even have to look at that purple bar in the upper right that's filling. There's just chip damage in general in this game. Unfortunately, my character doesn't exactly have it, so I can't really demonstrate it here, but there are moves that will do chip damage. You know what? Let me see. I might actually have a move that chips. Yes, there. You can see the chip damage in the upper right. He is actually losing health, even though he's blocking these attacks. Oh, there you go. I forgot that Anji does actually have some chip damage. So the idea is that when you block, yeah, you're preventing damage, but you're not preventing all damage. It's very possible that you are taking chip damage, and it's damage that is done even when you're blocking. Chip damage can be very strong, and it's often how matches are decided. If someone is at low health, they cannot block. So they have to get aggressive or dodge attacks, because you'll just lose due to taking chip damage. Okay. Some other concepts to go over. In this game specifically, there is a burst gauge. It's that blue bar that's underneath our health. It has the word burst over it. If I activate two buttons, I can jump in the air. This yellow, reddish, orange burst of flame kind of comes out of my character, and I can do that while I'm getting hit. It's a good way of interrupting my opponent from dealing damage to me. So maybe my opponent is about to do an amazing combo like that 4-hit attack. Maybe on the second hit, I say to myself, I can't be taking this damage. I'm going to burst out of it. And burst is a limited resource. In this training mode, you actually get unlimited amounts of it. But in a real match, it's pretty rare, and you want to use your burst strategically, because it takes a while to come back. Some other concepts, one that's actually applicable to nearly all fighting games, is supers. Supers describe special moves that require some sort of resource, particularly something called a bar. And bar just refers to that thing at the bottom of the screen that says tension. It's yellow, and there's two gears along it. The gears indicate that you can do a super move. So right now I have the ability to do two super moves because I have two gears. This is one of Anji's super moves. Usually there's an animation. It deals an incredible amount of damage. We'll have to actually turn off the all guard from our opponent to see it in action. Let me see if I can do it again here. There we go. You can see it's a very effective move. And that right there, where my opponent actually broke through the screen like that and went to a new area, that's called a wall break. So my super, which used bar, the yellow thing at the bottom, caused a wall break because my opponent was in the corner. So that's a bunch of concepts right there. I have my opponent cornered. I have bar available, so I'm going to use a super to hopefully do a wall break. So that's a good that's a good mix of words right there. There's a few other smaller concepts that we can talk about. One is dashing. Characters can move very rapidly back or forward. It's important to use dashes to close the distance quickly with your opponent. There's also anti-air moves, which are specifically meant to deal with opponents who are jumping. There's also mix-ups, where you want to do a combination of high and low attacks. That way your opponent isn't sure which way to block. There's also cross-ups, which is where you rapidly change the position you're in relative to your opponent so they don't know which direction to hold to block. So you could be holding back, suddenly I'm on the other side of you, and now you don't know which direction to push. As you can see, there's all sorts of terms, there's all sorts of ways of playing the game, and I'm going to show you the replay mode that's available in the game and show you a little bit of an actual match just to maybe highlight some of the gameplay terms. I'll try to use them as we watch a replay, so that way we can actually see it in action or in practice. Let's see if I've got any replays available from some recent play sessions here, and I'll see if I've got any with Anji Mito, that character we were just watching. Not sure if I've played any games recently as him. Let's see. Doesn't look like it. It looks like I've mostly been playing other characters. Let's see. Is there really any here that involve Anji? I really want to show you guys. Oh, okay, here we go. So let's check this out. We can view replays, we can slow them down, we can replay them. This is a good way to just review matches. And it's super convenient for me because if the dogs start barking, I need to be able to pause what we're looking at. Let's maybe slow things down a little bit here, although the audio is so bad. Let's just play it at normal speed here. As you can see, it's very fast-paced, but I'm up against my opponent Nuwada, who's playing as Potemkin. And you can see I'm doing all sorts of special moves. Look at that. Oh, we've got him in the corner. We're hoping to get a wall break here. Maybe we can get a wall break. There we go. And that actually won me the match. So you can see we got him in the corner. We did some consistent attacks and we got the wall breaks. That felt really good. There I used my burst because I was tired of my opponent attacking me, so I used it to get him to back away. But as you can see, my burst is taking a long time to come back. You'll see the word counter show up all the time in this game. It's pretty much just saying I did an attack when my opponent was doing an attack. Okay, we're getting him into the corner. That's definitely good. Now he uses his burst. Very common for people to use burst when they're put into a corner here. Oh, there's a super move. A super from my opponent. Very cool. Another super from my opponent. Oh, it looks like I might close this match out. We've got him in the corner. Would love a wall break here. Opponent very close to, losing just from chip damage. But we end up getting him. So there you go. That's just one game. As you can see, it's very fast-paced. Hopefully you caught some of the concepts that we talked about in our training mode. Now, I'll talk about one last concept because it was highlighted in that game, and it's a very tricky concept that is unique to Guilty Gear. we talked about a lot of stuff that is common to all fighting games. Even Burst, that blue bar that we can use to break out of our opponent's attacks, even that is in other games. But one thing that is unique to Guilty Gear is the Roman cancel. The Roman cancel is where, rather than spending my bar, the blue or the yellow bar at the bottom of the screen that says tension and has gears on it, rather than using it to do special moves like this, instead I can use it to reset myself. And this is a little weird. Did you see that? So in the middle of my attacks, I suddenly let out this like yellowish burst. Let me do it again here. And that time it was purple. There it was red. But this kind of clock icon appears, and a different color effect seems to take place, and time slows down. That's what happens when you Roman cancel, and you'll notice it does cost bar. You can see it costs, just 1 gear's worth of bar. The Roman cancel resets your character, and that is convenient when you want to, let's say, do an attack. So maybe my kind of normal combo here is a slash, a heavy slash, and then that Fujin combo, which is a 2-3-6 heavy slash, and then into another button. If I wanted to do that again, I could by doing a Roman cancel. So I can go like attack, Roman cancel, attack, and then I can do another one of those 2-3-6 heavy slashes. It kind of resets you. You'll notice that after I do that combo, my character just kind of takes some time to recover. Like he has to bring his fan back around. Yeah, he has to do a few frames of animation to recover after I do my fan attack. If I Roman cancel immediately after the attack, then I'm able to start inputting buttons again. It's like a faster recovery. So there it was. I did my combo, and then at the end I Roman canceled and then was able to do another move that I wouldn't normally have been able to do if I hadn't Roman canceled. With Roman cancels, you can set up multi-combos that aren't typically possible. It costs you some bar, but it's a real cool way of getting creative with the game. So for example, I could sweep my opponent's legs, hit him into the air, and then while I'm up there in the air, I can't actually input anything else. I can actually do that. I guess I can do one more hit. But I wish I could like reset and do it all over again. And I can do that with the Roman cancel, so let's do it. All right, let's try that again. So I was able to do the move twice. Here, maybe out in the open it's a little more obvious. See how I can do that rising fan attack twice? I normally can't do that. If I were to try to do it without the Roman cancel, it would fail. Let me show you. My opponent's already on the ground by the time I'm doing it again, but with the Roman cancel, I kind of pop him into the air and I slow down time, which gives me a chance to get to the ground and do the move again. So Roman cancels are incredibly inventive moves. You can use them to string together different combos and continue your attacks. It's also really helpful for when your opponent is blocking and you want to keep up the aggression. So maybe my opponent is really used to me attacking him. He's been blocking everything. Very impressive. I can't break through. Maybe I'll catch him off guard. Maybe he's like, oh, I'm blocking great, and he's about to do a counterattack. Right after I do that kind of yellow sparkle of a fan, he's going to attack. Well, I can disrupt that kind of muscle memory of his where he thinks he's about to be able to start attacking me by doing a Roman cancel and just repeating my attacks all over again. So now he had to deal with 2 strings of attacks there. And I can mix them up too. Maybe I could go into a completely different kind of attack. So maybe I'll do... See, I just attacked from all sorts of angles there. Of course, the training dummy is blocking perfectly, but if you're a human dealing with this sort of aggression, it's really hard to know what to block. There were so many different attack patterns there that a normal person is going to really struggle with that much variety. I'm going to mix my opponent up. Basically, I'm going to do a combination of high and low attacks, and they're going to get confused as to what to block, and they're going to get hit. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this explanation of fighting games in general. I hope you've also caught on to some of the concepts that are unique to Guilty Gear, such as the Roman cancel. And yeah, I'm excited to show you some more games from this game in particular because, well, I want to show you replays from this game in particular because there's so many characters here. It's such a huge cast, and all these characters are different. Many of them have different limitations. For example, Anji is great because he actually has a projectile attack with that butterfly attack, but other characters have much better projectile attacks or ranged attacks, while others actually have none. Some characters can dash a lot faster than Anji. Some characters can run faster. I can double jump with Anji, but there's some characters who can triple jump. There's some characters who can barely jump at all. And there's some characters who jump higher than others, take longer to fall to the ground. All these differences make for a very exciting game where you're never really sure what the matchup is going to involve. You could be fighting a small, scrappy character like Mei, or you may be going up against an enormous powerhouse like Potemkin or Nagoriyuki. You never know. The matchups are so strange. It's very interesting to see all the different characters fight each other because it's not like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter in the olden days where characters were essentially just recolors of others and everyone had very similar move sets and very similar moves and play styles. These characters vary in hugely different ways. So I'm hoping you'll all tune in for a few replays here. I can tell you right now that if you're interested in watching more of these games, I'll at least tell you which characters I play, so that in the future, you know what I can give you tips on and which characters I can't give you tips on. So probably my best characters are Anji Mito, who is a good variety balanced character, and Potemkin. Potemkin is a grappler character, meaning he likes to get close and personal and deals massive amounts of damage in just a few moves. I would say underneath those two, I am trying to get better with Giovanna, who is sort of a rush-down, high offense character. And I'm also recently learning Sin Kisuke, which is also sort of a rush-down character, high offense. I'll say that I do have a little bit of familiarity with Leo, Axel, and Happy Chaos. I do like playing as Happy Chaos, though this character is incredibly difficult to use, and watching people who do know how to play him makes me feel like I'm just awful with this character. So, just as a heads up, those are the characters you're likely going to see me playing. You might have even seen it when you were watching me go through the replay list. And my rank typically bounces between like 7 and 8. That's they have a floor ranking in this game. It's kind of like 1 to 10, and usually I'm in the 7 to 8 range, though when I practice with newer characters like I have been, usually my rank goes down to like a 6. Anyway, hope you liked this explanation and hope you learned some things about fighting games. And next time you tune in and watch like a fighting game on YouTube and you hear commentary, maybe you'll actually get a little bit of the terminology that they're using when they say, oh, he gets the OTG and it's enough chip damage to win the championship. Like, now you understand, like, oh, they were able to hit them on the ground and deal damage through the opponent's guard to win. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video and hope you're looking forward to some matchups in this game. I'm certainly excited to review some of them myself. All right, catch you next time.